from hitting challengers at mid laner at the age of 15 to now playing support in Academy at the age of 18? Well, let me introduce you to Busio.
Originally, I'm from Washington State, and I grew up there my entire life. I think I started playing the game in season 1 or 2 when I was maybe 7 or 8. I always cared a lot about my rank, even when I was younger. I always wanted to climb and get to Diamond. My parents were always pretty respectful of, like, when I'm in a ranked game, I can't be distracted. And of course, they always would, like, allow me to play amateur games, even miss friends and family events for my amateur games. So that support system was pretty good. I originally chose mid lane, probably because of the champions that are there, like very mobile champs like Katarina, other champs such as the Blanc, and even control mages like Syndra, Ori, Cassio, Zoe. Those types of champs were also really fun for me at the start, just because of how mechanically intensive they were.
Finishing the kill, Busio C and Polar Ace, they're doing so well.
On Polar Ace, I was surrounded by 4 team members that were obviously way better and more experienced than me. And definitely my biggest takeaway from Polar Ace was just to be confident and not really be nervous when playing in important matches.
But it might be too late. It's not! Busio just pops off in that team fight, waiting for the cooldown.
Especially in amateur, a lot of the matches, if you lose, you're out, especially in OQs or further down in playoffs. And it was just important to play confident and play like you do in scrims. And I didn't necessarily do that all the time, so that's why I wasn't that successful on Polar Ace, but it was a good takeaway. What I like about League is definitely how many different champions there are, strategies, and how you can beat your opponent with that. Like, I like to get creative, different room pages, different play styles, different champions. And the most fun part about League is definitely just the depth that all of that brings.
Too far forward, has to flash away, the knockup lands, Spawn's in trouble, a double kill to Busio.
Hey guys, Papa Smithy here. Really excited for what feels like the first time in a while to share an off-season update.
For the support role swap, Chris, Papa Smithy, came to me with the opportunity. And obviously it wasn't an instant, yeah, I want to swap. I like the role, I like the champions, and I just came off my Polar Ace split, so that was a good experience and I wanted to keep playing mid. My opinion on supports were, they're old, they're there for macro, they're not really good mechanically or anything, and they just play engaged supports. But after learning about Carrier and seeing that support actually has a lot of unexplored depth to the role, like with the champions you can play, the room pages you can take, even just your role in the game, it can vary a lot, and I found a lot of interest in trying to explore that part of support that really hasn't been previously explored that much.
You know what's funny? I always talk about this whenever I speak to Busio about certain champion picks, because I always remember him playing like an absolute psychopath when we played in scrims. Our scrims were always FFs every single game, and he was always playing some freaky stuff, you know? It was always the Senna X anything, you know? That's the one thing we were afraid of when we were scrimming 100x, compared to other teams. It would be Senna and any champion that exists in the entire roster that was a potential.
It felt pretty good to join 100 Thieves because previously on Polar Ace, of course, I looked up to 100 Next. And then once I was actually on it, I realized how many more resources there were with being able to talk to LCS and LCS Academy coaches and all their databases and pro scrims and pro views. It was really helpful to improve with that. And then, of course, the motivation that comes with how more accessible a promotion to Academy is once you're already within the 100 Thieves ecosystem. Yeah, it definitely felt bad to have to leave my team. So that was when our team was starting to actually finally come together, because previously 100x was not doing good at all. And I finally had hope, and it felt pretty bad to leave my team, and also I wanted to compete in that tournament. But in the long run, it's pretty good, because now I'm on 100 Academy, so it was probably worth it, but felt bad short term.
Just eliminated his bot lane.
Previously, of course, being an amateur, I thought the Academy players were just gods, but now that I'm here, I realized Academy players are just amateur players with a little more experience, and that makes sense.
Cannot Busio will take him down.
It's pretty surreal to actually finally be here in person with the team, because I knew it was coming for a long time, especially once I got signed to Academy. But it was so far away, I still have to graduate school. And now that I'm finally here, I'm just really happy that all I need to focus on is League and being the best I can. I don't have any other outside responsibilities. And now just being able to play as much solo queue, scrim as much as I can is really helpful. I definitely want to be one of the top supports in Academy. I think it's pretty possible if I keep focusing on my weaknesses, because I definitely have some inconsistencies with my knowledge of matchups, but if I can keep 2v2ing, and with the addition of Champions Queue, I can meet all these different pros and see their perspective in the game, and then taking that to scrims with me, learning a bunch of new tech, and also what's helpful in comms and what isn't helpful, because in Champions Queue, there's a lot of unnecessary comms. And realizing how damaging that is can definitely help me in scrims, because I definitely do have some excessive comms in situations.
Bro, this is why we warm up on set, am I right?
Having high quality games where everyone's trying means I can test 2v2 matchups in a really good way. I just need to keep getting that experience up and getting my consistency down, and then I can keep progressing in my career. In 3 years, I definitely think I'll be in the LCS if I continue with the mentality and progression I have right now. And in 2025, I think I'll be at Worlds, because I know I want to be at Worlds, so if I put my mind to it, I can do it.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are here and getting ready for our final game of the day. I see you got the magnifying glass out. I don't think you need one to look at that piece we just ran, because it's an incredible time to get to see a little bit of the backstory behind Busio's mentality, and as well the backstory behind the player who's been making
that's what we
waves
call
in
a
Academy.
Magnapog, though.
Magnapog.
There you go.
We're sticking with that one, I guess.
But talking about Busio, I mean, we keep hyping him up because he has been this player that has been able to bring so much to a team. Even though that last game we really didn't get to see that much, he's still this player that you have to pay attention to. The Lux, there's a reason why I kept highlighting it, because I was looking towards how he was going to find those picks, if he was going to find those picks. Immortals did a good job of making sure that never happened. They always had this advantage in the bottom half of the map. Chad did a great job of facilitating his hyper carries and the resetters, as you were talking about, Josh, and Jinx and Ari.
Yeah, I think as we start looking towards the next game, we need to see how they're going to be trying to play around the bottom lane a little bit more. Because Wixie and Busio, I felt like they played pretty decently that game. Unfortunately, without a whole lot of resources given to them, they were just dove repeatedly. And once you take the bot lane out of the game, it is very difficult for them to come back on their own unless you have a really long game like we saw with King.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be getting that one anytime soon. I mean, we might. It's always fun. But for me, it's about making sure there's stability, and especially making sure you have a sword to fight with in the early game, right? And I feel like buying into that early game, yeah, maybe a long sword, maybe a dagger. Who knows? Well, you never know. Okay, there's multiple options you can go. Maybe a book. Who knows? Joshi.
That's not a sword. A book is not a sword.
It's a weapon, all right?
I mean, I could throw a book at you. I guess that is a weapon. I
Are you trying to make sword back?
Oh my god, no, we're not going down that rabbit hole. But in all actuality, I want to get the breakdown here, because going to the second game, right, it is important to be able to come back from a loss like that. So what are the turnarounds that we can
I feel
have,
like the big thing that we're
Joshi?
going to have to look at is, one, you need to support the bottom lane a little bit more, or commit to running over the top lane, right? Gamsu and Kenvi did a decent job of shutting down Concept, but Concept was still able to find some decent flake angles. The big thing that you need to do is, if you're going to try and get Gamsu ahead, you need to put Concept down. You can't just let him continue to run around. You have to actually take him out back and euthanize him, because it's not going to work if you're just going to allow this monkey to come back.
Jeez.
What a...
I'm just saying, like, no half measures. You guys watch Breaking Bad?
No.
Oh my...
I actually have never...
neither of you watched Breaking Bad?
Not gonna
What
lie.
the...
I watched like the first 3 episodes.
I've wanted to, all right? It's not for lack of trying. But for lack of trying, I can't keep you guys here any longer, because we have Champions League here. So I can't be selfish any longer. Guys, get on your way. Get us through this last game of the day and have fun with it.
Definitely try to have fun with it. I always try to have fun with the cast. I hope that I hope that comes through. I don't know if that does for you, Josh. Especially with your analogies of what to do to poor concept.
I'm just saying, man, it's not enough to just break one leg. He's gonna come back. It's gonna heal.
Break 2 legs.
Yeah, and he's gonna come back for his revenge. I don't even think that's enough, right? I can't get away with the Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul references because good lawyers end up bringing you down to only a broken leg. But this is a situation where you got to be very careful about how you're going to be trying to build your advantages. And it didn't feel like Kenby was nearly as present during this game as we know that he has been in a lot of the 100 Thieves wins. And now, look at that. These teams are within 1 game of each other, despite the fantastic early run that 100 Thieves had in the first half of the season. Yes, the blob.
As I've dubbed it, it's the blob that everyone is in. You have a team above it, a team below it, but then everyone else is in the blob.
Whenever you say that, it always makes me think of the claw.
That's actually what I'm chosen. That is 100%. That is 100% what I'm referencing when I say that. But you know what? Let's get into this game. Let's look at the champion select. We have Renekton Graves still banned away by Immortals. We've swapped sides. So we do have a little bit of difference because 100 Thieves are the team banning Gwen. They even banned Caitlyn and then the Vigar taken away by Immortals. I'm a bit surprised by that one.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I don't think that was the problem the last game, but hey, if it's unexpected and you don't want to play against it, it's a good reason enough to ban it away. If Immortals don't feel like 100 Thieves are playing up to the standards that we were previously holding this team to, then Immortals can feel free to just ban out things that they are not prepared to deal with, and that's something that a lot of teams are just now starting to experiment a little bit more with, so it's unclear how much experience Immortals has playing against it. But with Caitlyn banned away, Jinx seems to remain the number 1 AD carry for a lot of teams when Caitlyn is not available, and it's an aero champion, so I'm expecting this to probably get locked in.
The thing for me is last game, I don't know. I'd have to actually look through the entirety of our stats for this year. But last game, I think, was the first time since Zeri's been enabled that she wasn't even touched, banned, or picked. And we might see that again here. These 2 teams don't really care to play that much. And this takeaway from Chad with Viego and the Felios locked in for Wixie, this is an interesting change that we're seeing. You kind of had talked about it at the very beginning of the day, whether or not we'd see these changes with Zeri, the nerfs that she had received, whether that was going to actually take her out of the meta or not. Well, these 2 teams don't really seem too concerned with that champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I was talking about with Caitlyn, right? If you don't get a chance to play with the champion, like you just didn't get to see it on 12-3 whatsoever, you might not be comfortable bringing it out on stage. And I feel like that might be one of the reasons why we haven't been seeing quite as much Zeri so far. Of course, Prismal trying not to give anything away. Unclear what his team is thinking about it, but a lot of teams seem to think it is still very good in the right situations. But the Corki comes through, and a lot of very standard champions have been picked for our previous patch, including the Thresh at this point. The only thing that's a little bit surprising is Kenvi going for the Viego, which is, as you said, something that Chad played last game, but something that we know Kenvi had a lot of success on in 2021.
Well, I feel like when I see the Viego taken here by Kenvi, it is purely to deny that it's essentially a 4th ban to Chad. It is his most played champion in this split and one of his best performing champions. That's why I have to mention the 4-0 start that they had for Immortals at the very beginning of this split. All of it was with Viego for Chad. So taking that away, it's a good answer here. But speaking of takeaways, we're kind of a little bit behind. Let's try to catch up a bit. The Thresh taken by Joey to get rid of that from Busio, since he's been playing out of his mind on that champion, makes a lot of sense. But then the answer from Tom Ketch here for Busio is really interesting to see that be what they want to go for. A little bit more safety in the later stages of the game.
Definitely make sure you check out Busio's Twitter. He's got some sick clips of him popping off.
I saw that right before our series.
With hook champions, in particular the Thresh. So shout outs to Busio and Champions Queue there. But the Tom Kench, as Preston was saying, the most broken champion on the Rift. Whenever he's in a bush, you just gotta freak out. Like, where is he? What am I gonna do about it? And he was playing Caitlyn, I believe, so he had at least a little bit of a dash to try and dodge out. Arrow is not going to have that option available to him. We know there's a lot of pick potential between Phyllis and Tom Kench. And as the Akali comes through, definitely...
But it's not come through yet.
okay,
It's still
okay.
being hovered. LeBlanc is another option, or Rise for Jimmy.
True.
I'm expecting this Akali, though, just because Jimmy has played it into Corki. If you think back to, what was it, week 1, I think day 2, where he got a solo kill on Akali against a Corki at level 1.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Double ooh. Okay.
Okay.
Well, now we have a very robust front line that is already coming through for the members of Immortals, and at least one of them is, you know, a stun clicker, right? You press a button and then somebody's stunned. They cannot move, and that makes it very easy for your double marksman composition to put out a ton of damage. But Concept on the Urgot, one of his most played and very high win rate champion in solo queue right now. There's not a lot that is obviously super good against the Urgot, just because it is so beefy, and with the Hullbreaker builds, it becomes very difficult to take down in isolated 1v1. So the Gnar going to be the answer for Gamsu, but that's not like a winning lane so much as it's just a, you know, a lane that is fine, right? It's a skill matchup.
Right. It's essentially not necessarily losing. And the only thing is, I look at this top lane, Gamsu versus Concept. Each of them have one of their El Clasico matchups where they are so comfortable on playing each of these champions. Gamsu has had the most games in his career, I think, on Gnar, while Concept, one of his favorite champions to play in recent memory especially, is this Urgot.
Yeah, and so with all the kind of comfort champions across the board for both sides, the biggest unusual thing I have to say here is the Chad playing the Udyr, another person a little bit infected by the Udyr bug. We saw Armeo do it a little bit last week. Obviously, Malice does it quite a bit, and now that Chad is going to be bringing it to the forefront of Immortals play, we'll see if they can create the same kind of pressure that the other Udyr players have done so far. It's not the easiest thing to brawl Viego on even items, but as long as you have that CS advantage like you should be expecting to, and the experience advantage that comes along with it, just having an extra level at level 3 or 4 is really a huge difference maker in who actually wins the fight.
It's really interesting to see Chad on Udyr while Busio on Tom Kench. Not necessarily what we're used to seeing from each of these players, not really that flashy playmaking style. It's much more about facilitating the team, even though Chad is really good at that. It's not what we're used to.
Yeah. And it's definitely interesting, right? I know that Chad, he picked his name because he wanted something memorable, right? He's just like, well, everybody's going to remember me if I'm just the Chad in the jungle, right? He used to go by Chad Jungle for a long time. And now he's just Chad. I'm curious to see how memorable he is going to make this. He's not going with the phase rush like a lot of other Udyrs have gone for. Instead, he's going for the lethal tempo. This is actually a much better dueling build than a lot of the phase rush, because you don't have the same kind of sticking power, but you just claw their face off with the cha-cha-cha-cha, the auto attacks whenever you're in Tiger Stance.
That is true. And Chad is one of those players who will go for that play. He will look to see if he can skirmish, especially against Kenvi, his senpai, the player who he was right below in previous splits. And having a different look, you know, different team with Immortals as no longer with 100 Thieves, there's a lot where he can feel like he can prove in this matchup. If he can really dictate the pace of this early game, or even just scale to this incredible level against Kenvi, this is all great. These are great milestones for him as a player.
Yeah. Who's our observer today? Is it, I thought, Shadow Fury? Move the camera up and down if it's Shadow Fury for us real quick.
It's like, you see, I have no idea.
Yeah, there it is. All right. Hello, Shadow Fury.
Okay.
You've been doing a great job today,
cool.
by the way. Appreciate your hard work. Concept finding Gamsu.
Oh, nice flip over the shoulder.
Bam.
Getting a bit of damage using those shotgun knees to chunk out Gamsu. Even getting this wave, and it's kind of interesting. It's frozen a little bit more up than normal.
Yeah, but it's going to be all right, because the big thing is Concept has a ton of all-in power at level 2, right? And just trying to get a little bit of damage down. And it's so hard for Gnar to get some of these early trades in because of the amount of pressure that the shield on Concept's E is creating. You don't get a trade back all that well. The big thing they have to rely on early on for Gamsu is actually having a bit of sustain by using that fleet footwork. But Concept is going to try and keep you off the wave as much as possible. Now, the other thing we got to pay attention to, Magical, is will Concept be able to continue doing that? Because Kenvi is going to be moving towards the top side, whereas Chad is going to be clearing towards the bottom.
The typical Chad jungle pathing. Seen this many, many times, where he plays towards an early gank in the bot lane. probably level 3, level 4, maybe even after the Scuttle Crab, will look for a play on to Wixie Busio, especially before Busio has that Devour that can keep Wixie safe.
What is Wixie and Busio's duo name, Magical? The Zoomers?
Wixio?
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 I just kind of want to call them the
know.
Zoomers because they're super young, but that will be less and
So
less.
is it Boomers versus Zoomers in the bot lane?
Is Joey a boomer? Arrow is arguably a boomer.
I don't know. That's like you're asking the wrong person. I'm not creative when it comes to these names. See, I
Only
am the
builds.
boomer here. I don't come. I got the weird builds and the weird champions to play. I don't come up with this
All right.
fancy schmancy duo name.
We will
thing.
take it to Twitter or Twitch chat. Let us know what your favorite Wixie Busio duo names are in Twitch chat, and we will take a look at our favorite, and maybe we'll post them on Twitter. Maybe you can make it into the pre-show next week or tomorrow. You know, who knows?
I'm kind of like on the boomers versus zoomers. I don't know if you can quantify Joey as a boomer, but I just like that because it works.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening as the hands difference still can come through. We've definitely been seeing Arrow having a pretty good game the first time around, and Joey.
Oh, hello, Joey.
Coming in towards the Jimian.
Looking for Jimian, who has flash. Waiting it out, flash play, and there's the
pull
pull
him
back
out.
in. You can't escape anymore. They've got the damage. The flash is there to stay a little bit alive. Ignite, not enough to take down Jimian.
Ooh, big damage coming through from Pretty. Unfortunately, wasn't able to pull them all the way out of the shadow because it does expand with time. But good idea coming in from Joey. Almost gets a kill down onto Jimian. And as they move back towards the bottom lane, Kenvi just not quite patient enough. And I like the fact that Joey hex flashing this wall anyway, not going to be walking through that tri-brush because they knew Kenvi was there recently.
No need to risk it. I like it.
I like it. Good stuff. And now they see the Kenvi and they know, oh, yep, I made the right decision. But look at the fact that Chad, in very traditional fashion on the Udyr, is ahead of Kenvi in the farming. And so
Yes,
Kenvi, he has to do something.
It's traditional. What were you going to say?
He has to do something. You know, it's like the
yeah.
poke it, do something. I don't know what
The
it
thing
is. It's a lane gank.
You talk about traditional for an Udyr to clear out. That's not traditional for Chad. Even when he plays scaling champions, he tends to gank a lot. And look at where he's positioning. He's roaming down. The Krugs are about to spawn up, and he's continuing to just power farm it up, which isn't typical from what we've seen out of this Immortals jungler.
Yeah, normally he is much more aggressive than this. So it's interesting to see the different styles, the different flavors of Maximilian come through this game. And, you know, instantly waiting for the Krugs to be ready. He will have a little bit of time where he can opt to go for the early dragon because Kenvi is going to be pathing towards the top side of the map. But Chad gets spot out a little bit. And I think as Arrow and Joy push this in, it will become much more difficult for Wixie and Busio to actually contest. And I think Chad's going to hit it.
I think Chad is mostly just looking for the dragon. Pull it out. You call down Arrow. They've got a good push mid lane. As Freddy's hit level 6, so you can constantly harass Jimmy and make sure the Sakali's not actually going to be able to move around the map, and then pulls in the bot lane. This is where Kenvi has to find some sort of answer. He knows this dragon is being taken. There's no real reason that an Udyr, when you have a winning mid and bot, isn't going to take that objective.
Yeah, but needs to be careful because there is a control ward that has been placed on the top side at Chad's blue buff, and Chad runs over towards the opposite side. He should know that Kenvi was over there potentially looking for these buffs, and as he looks for the Scuttle Crab, sees that it's gone. What does he do? He's going to be backing away, which, you know, makes sense. There's not a whole lot currently to do, but he is just faster.
Gromp, though.
Towards his own camps and pick up the Gromp. Kill the frog.
Yeah, Gromp. Get the frog.
Kill the frog.
Now that's some French stuff right there. He's eating frogs. True. So where's our Frenchman when we need him?
True. Mazal.
Oh!
Damage.
That's a lot of damage.
Damage.
This is level 6 Corki for you. The amount of damage you're able to get with these rockets, even if you haven't built up the damage for it yet, is still a lot. And right there, Chad, he got his Gromp, looks for the blue buff, but he never cleared out that control ward. So he clears it out now, and Kenvi is hanging out nearby. I'm curious, though. Joey Joey's waiting it out. The smite, I think, was secured by the side of Kenvi, but now he's got to fight his way out of this. Ignite is ticking. It should be first blood for Joey, and he gets his own blue buff.
All right, but Chad's still going to have a lot of time to just clear out all of his camps, and even though he doesn't get the blue, he is still very happy with the fact that that Kenvi is now out for the count, and it's just much more time for the rest of IMT to continue scaling into the game. Joey and Busio, I think Busio wins this 1v1, but it's not a 1v1.
It's not. But Jimmian is here too. So it will be a 2v2. The fact that you don't have very much mana for Chad could make this risky. They're waiting to see if Pretty's going to be able to show up. First execution, Joey taking low. Jimmian gets the kill, but here's Arrow on the other side. Zap connects with the chomps to make sure that this catfish can't get out too easily. And unfortunately, Jimmian went right on top of them. So he'll die to Chad. With Kenvi having respawned, it's too late to save Busio's life. Chad can continue to chase this down. They've got the damage onto Wixie, onto Kenvi as they run for the hills. The flashes abound. Even with the blast cone right nearby, it's these missiles consistently landing, so Arrow can get another kill in this fight with Kenvi underneath the turret, barely holding on to his life.
The double rocket composition coming through for Arrow and Pretty, running everybody down. And remember the previous game where you had 1-0-2, 1-0-2, 1-0-2? Now we have the exact same kill score coming through for Chad, Pretty, and Arrow. And the amount of early game pressure they were able to pick up was immense. Honestly, crazy stuff coming through. But the big thing that I do have to highlight here is Jimmian starting to feel himself a little bit too much on this play. Goes really aggressive, and to his credit, is able to take down Joey. But by the time Arrow comes back around and the attention refocuses directly into the choppers.
And that was the problem. You went right into the choppers.
There's the reset.
They gave a reset. They can chase this down. They can get flashes, but it doesn't even matter because you're already excited as Jinx. A lot of it was just unfortunate for the side of 100 Thieves. As you said, a bit too aggressive.
And very tragic for Wixie as well that Chad gets out with sliver of HP. Not quite going to get the last bit of damage there for Wixie to trade and potentially get a Triumph proc. But as it is, 100 Thieves are considerably behind at this point. They might still be stronger for a little while, but the fact that Pretty already has his Hex Drinker going up against Jimmian, and Jimmian often go with the Merc Treads, means that he is nowhere near as strong as he would like to be.
And, look who is strong. Wixie. That is Joey Arrow. Poor Wixie. The Zoomer got zoomed by the Boomers. Taken out immediately. Wait, who got the eye? Okay, it was Kenvi who got it. Chad, he's dead. Jimmian takes the kill.
Yeah, Chad going in, trying to pick up the Rift Hold, ends up going down. And that's going to be 100 Thieves, getting a little something back on the opposite side of the Rift, but stopping Busio's back does mean that there's going to be even more time for Arrow to be hitting this bottom lane turret. And so the kill onto Wixie turns into not just that, but at least 2 plates getting picked up for the IMT bottom lane. And as they back away, they do it in such a way that Wixie doesn't know if they've left yet.
That's why he's holding on to that wall for dear life. That is his salvation. We can see the gold. I would really like to see that because I'm looking at Arrow 2-0-2, 3 turret plates picked up in this bot lane for Jinx, and with 1,500 gold lead for the side of Immortals Progressive, I am almost willing to bet that all of that lead is in Arrow.
Oh yeah, so much money currently going over to the AD carry, and we also have a package coming up. Yeah, look at that, 900 currently in favor of the bottom lane, and a decent amount also coming through for Joey, who's been a part of a lot of these kills as well. But Pretty has his package available. I do not think that 100 Thieves should be looking to try and contest this, and so very classic stuff. Pretty, it's after the 10-minute mark, he decides this dragon is mine, and 100 Thieves are like, yeah, no, nobody was contesting that. You're good.
This game, we're not really getting to see the power of Chad that we did in that previous game. The early plays to set up this bot lane, to set up his mid lane. Instead, Arrow, Joey, Pretty, they've been doing a lot of the work on their own.
Yeah.
Even though Chad was a part of that last play, it was more because it was an invade into his jungle. Arrow, and especially Joey, his movements around the map are really what are setting up Immortals at this point.
And those movements are going to continue to set up Immortals for a while longer as Chad comes towards the mid lane. And just like you said, right, Chad is a pretty heavy ganker on these farming style junglers. He tends to want to be part of all the plays on the map. And you see him just kind of cycling through his different stances to make things ready for whenever he jumps in, make sure they're all off cooldown. We're also seeing the pings coming out from under Thieves. They thought he was doing the Gromp or the Wolves, but little do they know that those camps are already gone.
Here, the blue buff, Kenvi has started it up. He knows something's up. He doesn't know exactly where Chad is, but with that control ward, with the Scuttle Crab nearby, he will know something's up. And the fact that he gets this blue buff, Chad not reading that there was that invade from Kenvi, the exact same play he had done previously, means that Kenvi gets a free blue buff and denies that from both Pretty and Chad.
Unlucky. Well, good play coming through from Kenvi, making sure that he is in control of his own destiny as much as he can be, and not even going to have to give up his life this time. Joey looking for the frog.
Flash is in with the Flay and the Lantern too, so they can get the bear slap on top of the frog. There goes Busio. Killed off pretty quickly. Jimmy and the next target taking all of these missiles to the face, but a little bit of magic resist going to make it more difficult for Pretty to actually whittle him down.
My favorite thing in the world when I watch League of Legends is seeing players who are patient. No hook coming out from Joey until either after the flash from Busio or the W started to be channeled, and you end up rooting yourself for an easy hook to follow it up. But
yeah,
Immortals ends up finding a lot of space. Wixie has to leave, and that's going to be the turret going down shortly before the turret plates end up falling. So now Kenvi coming to the mid lane, trying to give a little bit of money over to Wixie, but I mean, that's half a kill compared to the 2 or 3 that was effectively picked up by Arrow.
And here, they pop down the Rift Herald in mid lane. That's a good charge, but it's not really that much gold picked up for people who critically need it, such as Wixie, because we've had Arrow have that free time in the bot lane. Joey has been on a mission to set up a lot of these lanes, and that's why we have to even continue to applaud him. This is his game. He's been the facilitator of Immortals.
I want to keep facilitating Immortals. I'm just really excited for this team because when it came in, there are a bunch of players on this team that I was excited to see, right? Chad has been one of my favorite amateur junglers for quite a while, and seeing him now have success is been really cool to watch because he's just such a passionate young player. He really just wants to have a good time, and the thing about it is I really like that a lot of our players are, you know, they're League of Legends focused entirely, but Chad, he's a good cook too, right? I know who did the interview recently was like, he has not cooked for us yet because we didn't 2-0, but I know he does like a lot of cooking for himself as well, and just having like that multifaceted personality and not just playing League of Legends is really cool.
Oh, I actually like that from Busio. I think it was more because the choppers had rooted him in place, so the
can't move.
That sentence didn't land. But at the same time, people always forget that standing still sometimes is a good way to dodge because people are anticipating you moving away from things. And I kind of want to go back to how you were talking about Chad, the multifaceted player, because we're seeing that, you know, out of game, but also in game.
Yeah.
This is a different style from him. Playing foodier, playing more of the power farming, eventually super tanky member for the team that can frontline for them when it comes to these team fights.
Yeah, and you're seeing him go for the exact same build that Malice tends to do, Sunfire into the Frozen Heart, because there's a lot of physical damage auto attacks in the team. Pretty getting sandwiched.
And here come reinforcements to help out Kenvi. Look for the dive, but Joey, perfect placement. He's got a lot of damage. The Lantern taken, and even with the Devour to try to save the life of Kenvi, they can continue to follow this up. Chad is hunting him down. There goes the Catfish. They've landed Fear Beyond Death. A little bit more damage, and pull him back in to grind him up.
Holy moly, Immortals looking so good right now, Magical. Every single time 100 Thieves go for a play, Immortals are ready to turn it around. And again, patience from Pretty, not taking the Lantern immediately so he doesn't get hit by Kenvi. Concept doesn't know that Jimin is here, but he does now.
Well, there he is. Does now, but it's still difficult to fight against an Urgot. Even if he doesn't have Fear Beyond Death, he is tanky and he does a lot of damage. Perfect execution wasn't enough to pick up the kill. Concept path back. It looked a little risky for a second.
Yeah, the crazy thing is if that Chad had been there, Concept would probably die because he loses his resistances. But Immortals on the opposite side of the map are also getting ready to start up this dragon as well. That would be their third one straight, and 100 Thieves are not in a position to contest as Immortals have got to finally return the favor on actually taking away the opposing blue buff. Viego going to be losing one of his own, but Chad, as he starts this up, there's no contest coming through for 100 Thieves. So not only are they ahead about 3,000 gold, now they have 3 dragons to their name, and Mountain Soul makes it almost impossible for Kenvi and Jimmy to do their job.
It makes it also impossible to kill Concept or Chad.
Yep.
They're going to be so damn tanky.
The incredible synergy between Hullbreaker and extra Mountain Dragons is absolutely nuts. He just becomes ridiculously strong on the side lane, and as long as he's hunting alone, it's so difficult for them to do anything. That sure can flip lands, but I don't think you take it.
No, it's Nurgut still. With the Hullbreaker, as you talked about, the resistances you get. Busio might have been there to try to back up Jimmy, but it's risky.
And we all know Tahm Kench is the highest damage dealing diver.
I mean, it depends how you build him. If you build him like I do, yes. But that's not how he's being built this game. And when we see that, it's a good call from the side of Immortals, even though they lose the blue buff and this turret will be taken by Jimian. You can see where they're positioned. They pop down at the eye in mid lane. That will easily take down this tier 1 structure.
It is going to get traded, though. I do like the fact 100 Thieves are still getting some things on the map, even while their own map is crumbling a little bit around them. The second charge is going to be coming through and takes a lot of damage out of this turret. Oh my gosh, what was that?
They're just going to get it. They get the turret, and now they have to disengage. That was the package used by Pretty to gain a little bit of distance. With 2 members in the backline, 100 Thieves are split. It's taking them so long to regroup and reformulate their positioning. They get a lot of damage onto Jimmy and Gomsu, who now have to run. Wixie, he's the one forward. He had to flash because that would have been his death.
That's a lot of damage coming through. Pretty almost out of rockets, but stops both Gomsu and Kenvi. Immortals now looking to push up the mid lane. They have total control over the map. Concept still up in the top lane. Hullbreaker.
That was a 4v5, essentially. They were able to absorb all that pressure, and they can continue to fight. Gomsu's no longer Mega. They've got Arrow to go excited and continue to push back 100 Thieves. They don't have an answer. There's too much damage from the side of Immortals that can keep them pinned back in their base.
Oh my god, if they got Busio low, that would have been a 2-for-1. That would have been insane. But the damage starting to come through from Pretty. Immortals looking to take firm control over this. I was not expecting them to be able to win both games this cleanly, but the advantage that they currently have means they are both stronger and winning, and that is a very scary combination for the members of 100 Thieves. They need to try and find something, but it feels like everywhere they go, just like Armeo was doing earlier today, they are getting stifled by both Chad and Joey, who are constantly there.
And here's Jimian looking for Pretty, who has Hex Trinker. That's a lot of damage with the perfect execution. You've got the Conqueror stacked up too.
All
You've got to shut down, which is a good way to bounce back in.
Jimian finds a solo kill onto Pretty, and with the flashes down, that does mean that Pretty is got a target painted on his back for the next time that objectives actually come up. There's a Baron coming up right now, but 100 Thieves are not in a position where they can go for that super comfortably because there's still Arrow on the side. He's got 3, 0, and 4. 3 kills, 4 assists. He's super, super rich at this point in the game. And the rest of Immortals, they start moving towards the bottom side of the map. Just want to try and deny as much vision and control as possible from 100 Thieves to make sure that they can secure the Mountain Soul.
See the positioning from 100 Thieves at this moment. They kind of realize that it is going to be difficult to fight back around this dragon. So what do? They secure their own jungle. It's much more difficult for Immortals to cleanly go for these objectives for Baron, for Dragon, with how much vision. Look at all the control wards they have placed down at this moment.
It's a lot of control. It is a lot of power over the bottom side of the map. Concept hunting alone.
Oh, but Concept is pretty tanky. He's bounced around for a long time. That's a lot of ults to finally get a killing spree for Jimian in this fight. He wasn't a part of the previous fights. And so if they can actually get someone more critical like Arrow, this is going to be a good answer coming in from 100 Thieves to make sure that Immortals don't continue to get these dragons.
Well, I mean, you say don't continue to get the dragons, but he's going to be back up in time. The gold is good. 100 Thieves will be able to get the bottom lane turret with the fact that he has gone down. But Concept will be around. That will be available. They will have the package, and it's going to be very difficult for 100 Thieves to try and pick it up. I like the fact that they are continuing to build some plays. They have a lot of veteran voices. Gomsu, Jimmy, and Kenvi have been playing for quite a while at this point, but Immortals, they got the mid lane pushing already. They have the priority, and Concept now back in with all 6 legs, going to try and run them down.
That was the TP used to get back with the team, who are now venturing into enemy territory. Gomsu, no longer Mega. They can pop that little bit of a battle song to look for him, but they just force him out. No TP for Gomsu either, to easily and cleanly get a flank angle himself, and it'll be some time until he's Mega. going to be on Jimmy's angles and how he positions with his TPs to find these fights against Immortals.
Yeah, I wonder if Pretty backs right now in order to go pick up his package, but it looks like they're not going to have that available quite in time. So that is a big point of power that Immortals will be missing, but they do have total control of the choke points, and with the mid lane still in even position, it's so difficult for 100 Thieves to even walk up.
Comster's about to go Mega. He's got it back up. It's taken down to 50%. They have to wait it out. There is a lot of angles, and that's the TP. Jimmy's behind, but it's too late. The solo's been picked up by Immortals. Jimmy wants to get inside of the pit with the blast going over the wall, but Fear Beyond Death onto Gomsu. They've got
Nice
Jimmy in the back line, but they've been able to make sure they can make mincemeat out of him. Even with Kenby getting a little bit of damage on the chat, it's just too damn tanky to do anything about, so they can rip apart 100 Thieves and get a clean ace.
Easy play coming through. Huge shout out to Joey with the death sentence in the middle of Jimmy's dash right as he goes invisible, and he even starts throwing everything out. And a bit of a victory lap coming through for Immortals. They take the clean 5-0. They get the Mountain Soul. They're going to get the Baron. And the question remains, how do 100 Thieves do anything? It was on Jimmy in that fight, but Joey just brutally outplaying him, preventing any opportunity for an outplay.
This has been Joey's game. And you can see that from that play, from the previous movements he's had around the map. He has been looking absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so watch Joey in this fight, right? Because he stops Jimmy, he puts a complete halt to anything. And once Jimmy is forced into the Zonias, once he has no HP left, notice there's nobody around for him to perfectly execute. He's just gone, and everything else that the rest of 100 Thieves try and do is just trying to get away from Chad, but he's so tanky. There's no damage on Wixie. There's no damage on Kenvi right now. It's just a matter of Chad walking around like a Chad and just to be preventing anybody on 100 Thieves from coming to Jimmy's aid.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say, Joey, he was great to stop Jimmy, but then Chad had the attention of every other member of 100 Thieves. They were trying their best to stop him, while he just chased down people like Gomsu, Kenvi, and Wixie.
Yeah, run stun, job done. Just sits there and takes damage, and he does a good job of that, but Pretty and Arrow, the two marksmen for Immortals, now going to be trying to move in. And again, we gave the three players, Chad, Pretty, Arrow, who's going to step up? Again, the answer is all three of them, but an exclamation mark put next to Joey's name as having a huge impact so far. And as the turrets get sieged down, notice where Gomsu is. He is on the far side of the map trying to find a little bit of gold for his team.
And even though Kenvi is building tanky, the damage that he unleashed onto Kenvi right there forces him back. And like you said, Gomsu completely gone. He is doing his best to get a little bit of gold back for the team, but now the base is forfeit. They've lost everything. Busio has been picked off by Joey. He flashed towards his turret, but he probably is still going to die underneath it. They've got the damage, and there's Fear Beyond Death to pull him back in. The structures are gone. One Nexus turret remains. The fight from Immortals continues into the base of 100 Thieves as they look into the back line. They've got every kill they could possibly ever want. Gomsu might be Mega, but he couldn't take down Arrow. He's unstoppable. And Jimmyin, the last surviving member of 100 Thieves, doing his best to get away, but it's all Immortals chasing down to pad the KDA as they've already taken the base, and they take a 2-0 sweep over 100 Thieves.
Great plays coming out from a lot of our underdog teams today. It doesn't feel like the same academy split is happening in the second half as the first half thus far. Crazy plays coming through from Immortals. Super solid all the way around and constantly challenging what it was that 100 Thieves looked to do. I don't feel like there's a whole lot more to say because it felt like Immortals were constantly just controlling the pace of the game from start to finish, and 100 Thieves just got choked out in ways that we were not used to seeing.
No, but this is... I mean, when we look at how Immortals are and how they played against 100 Thieves, they 2-0'd them last time. They 2-0'd them this time. Immortals are a team that kind of defies all reasoning and logic with how they're able to play, but in this series, they didn't. They felt calculated. They felt controlled. It was Chad, Pretty, Arrow working so well together. And then game 2, Joey and Concept were so much more empowered with how they played. The movements from Joey, but also the lane dominance out of Concept.
Yeah, the new patch seems to have really changed the way that a lot of teams are thinking as we start looking towards the end of the season, right? We're already in week 6, man. It is so far along at this point. We have a couple more weeks of games, but as you start looking towards playoffs, seeing 100 Thieves in the blob is not where we were expecting them to be.
I like that I'm getting you on the blob now.
I was there at the beginning, man.
I know you were there, but you didn't like it. You didn't like it.
I
at the
still don't
beginning, but now I'm
necessarily
getting you to
like
say
it, but you know, if
blob.
call it an apple, call an apple an apple.
Blob. I mean, it's Academy. We've seen this in the past where you tend to have this conglomerate of all the teams neck and one another, fighting for each position, each game. So critical to move up in the standings and have the best position possible when looking towards proving grounds.
Yeah. So we'll see as we start getting tighter towards our race. The top 6 teams, remember, will make their way to proving grounds automatically, and the other 4 will have to play through another qualification bracket against a lot of our amateur teams to see how they are going to be doing. And I'm excited for how those teams will actually be playing. We know 100 Thieves next is really good, right? We've seen them 3-0 Golden Guardians Academy, and you do not want to be in a bracket up against teams like that going forward. So exciting stuff for everybody who's currently still watching. Exciting stuff to see a lot of the, again, underdog teams have a big success in the series, and it means that, you know, Academy, we keep talking about it, anybody can beat anybody.
And also the fact that this series now means that 100 Thieves and Immortals are tied.
They are.
That's a big statement for Immortals because they started off really hot. They looked like they were going to be the team to beat. Then they had a slump immediately after that. But now they've been slowly building themselves back. And with this 2-0 victory, both games were very dominant as well. It was great to see this from Immortals. We're going to touch that break, though. Before we discuss anything further, because we got an interview that we want to get to, we'll have Bazil on the other side. Make sure you stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with our final interview of the day, and I'm joined by Immortals Progressive Academy Joey. Immortals are back, baby. Is that just what I can take away from this, man? I see the smile on your face. How do you feel?
It feels really good to just have like such a convincing 2-0 week after having like a good week of practice. So hopefully we'll be able to close it out tomorrow with a nice 4-0 week. Back to where we started, you know.
Yep, I was just about to say, it feels good again. It feels like you guys have resurged. But I want to get into a little bit more in depth about this. What is the turnaround? What is different? You guys feel like you just destroyed one of the top teams in Academy right now, and it feels like it was no big deal. So what was the difference this week? What did you guys do differently?
Honestly, it's just like what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, and it's finally starting to click. We've all just been working really hard, trying to make sure like our mid game and our mechanics are like up to par. Because like one week we would lose because our macro is really bad, then the next week we'd lose because like we're just not playing with our hands. So it all finally is coming together, and it feels like we're playing as a team again. And that's probably why we're stomping top teams.
I love it, man. Like again, it's just it's like night and day. It's like a deja vu, really, for that first couple weeks performance. The Thresh performance, though, man, you were on aces that game. How did that feel? Did it feel like you could just facilitate the team a lot like Chad usually does with the J4 and things along those lines? How did you feel in that Thresh in the game?
I mean, it's kind of just like, oh, this guy's inting here, so I'm gonna hook him. This guy's inting here, so I'm gonna hook him. I mean, I just tried to just have as much impact as I could on the game.
It's like carnival games, right? You just go up, you say, oh, okay, here we go, let's go. So being an Immortal and playing with Arrow, how has that been in total? Now that you're over halfway through the season and you guys have been stuck together for a little bit longer, how has that duo been working out for you?
It's pretty good. It's kind of like a relationship, honestly, because we live together. He like even outside the game stuff, he'll like be like, "Oh, Joey, do this, you know, like why are you doing this?" And like even outside of like scrim environment, he's improving me as a person. So I've really enjoyed working with Arrow, and also in the scrim environment, he's like really holding me accountable, making sure that I'm improving a lot as a player. So I think like the progress for me, a lot of the split has come from working with him. So I'm really happy that I had the opportunity or having the opportunity to work with him. I love it.
Is he like in the middle of games, in the middle of scrims? He's like, oh, by the way, Joey, did you forget the dishes in the kitchen? Oh, get this guy real quick. It's just like going back and forth. Really quick though, you went up against Busio, rising star in the support name here in NA Academy. How does it feel going up against them and showing up a little bit of the ropes here in this series in particular?
Honestly, I'm really sad because I'm good friends with Sword, so I would have rather played versus Sword. But I mean, it was kind of, I don't know. I feel like he has a lot to learn about his matchups, for sure. But he's definitely improving a lot compared to where he was when we first started like scrimming versus him. So I'm kind of excited to see where he goes. He's a young player, so he still has a lot to like improve on. But it feels nice to be like the old dog, just like, oh, this is kind of easy, you know. Quick I think I'm 4-0 versus him now.
These whippersnappers, get them out of here. Come on. So then I want to expand that question a little bit. How about the overall support competition? Do you feel like there's a pretty stable meta of competition here in NA right now?
I don't want to have too much ego, you know, but
okay.
I think there's definitely some good supports, and then there's some not so good supports right now. So hopefully I'll be able to show which ones are not the great ones in coming matches.
All right, I love it. Now to the personal part for me. I read that you're a Scrubs fan, man. I don't know. You just made me fall in love with you there. Who's your favorite character, man? I don't know if I could hold a straight face while I ask you this.
Probably Turk, I would say. I mean, it's just such a good show. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times.
Man. Same. I love it, man. I love it. It's so good. And I saw that and I was like, immediately, I gotta talk to Joey. I gotta ask him who his character is on Scrubs. Thank you so much, man. I want to give you one last little moment. Do you have any shout outs? You got anybody you want to talk about? Anybody you want to call out before we let you go?
Not really. Just shout out to all the fans, all the sponsors of Immortals, my family supporting me. Shout out to my team for like working so hard over the past couple of weeks. Feels really good to be in such an environment where everyone's just like giving their all and trying to, you know, win things and improve with each other.
Hey, it all works out apparently. You come away with a 2-0. But thank you so much for joining me, and come right back to it tomorrow and see if you can round out that 4-0 week like you wanted. Have a wonderful evening. We're going to go ahead and bring in our casters back, Joshi and Magical, and see what they have been perusing through as we have gone a little while without speaking to them. I believe in just a moment we'll be bringing them back. And there they are. How's the investigation going over there, Magical? What you got?
Good. Just looking at my notes. It's easier to read this way.
Yeah? You got any clues that you're finding, Sherlock?
I want to see what's written on that notebook right now. It's just the
Look, I saw what was written on your notebook there, Mazel.
What's up?
I saw what was written in your notebook, just hashtag
Yeah,
path to LCS. Not exactly subtle about the product placement there.
Hey, you know, sometimes that's what it calls for. All right, maybe you just love the product that much and you just want to have it. All right, guys. But I will say it was an absolute pleasure to talk to Joey, especially off the back of that performance from Immortals. I mean, what a performance in totality for them, and especially like I was kind of saying in the interview, it's good to see them back in form.
Oh yeah. They looked so good in that series. This was one of the best performances I think we've seen from Immortals, even compared to like their week 1 performance. They looked absolutely dominant.
Yeah, I thought it was nice the way you put it. It was kind of like, it felt like no big deal from them. And looking across the board, right, I also noticed that FlyQuest taking a game off of Golden Guardians is another...
No ties tomorrow, Kangas, if you're watching this.
But Cloud9 taking down TSM and Immortals beating 100 Thieves, I think, are still kind of our big stories of the day, but we're also seeing the bottom half of the standings really start to take the top half to task, and it's going to be a really tough time for some of our top teams to prove that they are head and shoulders above the rest as we start looking towards the end of the season.
The 1-1 for Dignitas EG, man, that's just apparently the storyline that's going to continue.
That's
to happen.
Dignitas.
That's Evil Geniuses.
And Evil Geniuses. That is Academy. But let's look at our action that we have going on tomorrow, as we will be right back here in the same time, same place, maybe different names.
There
as
you
it
go.
will be twitch.tv/Academy. We got CLG Academy taking on Cloud9 Academy. That is a banger. I'm calling it right now. Dignitas Quantum Academy taking on Golden Guardians Academy. FlyQuest Academy taking on Team Liquid Academy. That is our first stream. That is our 3-series stream that we have. Now we're going to go to the secondary stream over on twitch.tv/FaceItTV, where we have TSM Academy taking on Immortals Academy, and then 100 Thieves Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Academy. Anything that stands out to you guys?
The obvious one? CLG
Yeah.
C9?
Well, I mean, come on. You guys got to try a little harder than that. Come on, like, dig a little deeper, man. Come on. You're
I'm
my
just saying,
analyst.
we're starting off the day with our match of the week on the Academy stream.
Right.
That's going to be brought to you by Rafa and Cubby tomorrow, where we get to see 2 of the Titans of Academy going head-to-head and see which one of them, which one of them is going to be able to continue moving towards the top of the standings, or if it's that even, right? Like, can CLG deal with the scaling from Cloud9? Can Cloud9 deal with the early game power of CLG? There's a lot of storylines going into that one. It is going to be a clash of Titans.
Yeah, and I'm also really excited to see on the other stream the 100 Thieves versus Evil Geniuses game. I think that one's also going to be exciting, especially after we saw 100 Thieves fall today. Looking at how those two teams will kind of work towards the future and whether or not they're going to be able to kind of regroup and gather themselves together is important. That series for both teams is incredibly important for their future.
It absolutely is. And, you know, the weeks, as you kind of mentioned when we were coming into it, the weeks are getting thinner and thinner. We only have a few more left. And it's a little terrifying to even say so as we wrap up the first day of week number 6. Guys, it's been a pleasure to have you guys alongside me. To everyone at the production crew, thank you for being here. Thank you for making us look so nice. And everyone watching, make sure you tune in tomorrow and go follow at Path to LCS. We'll see you there, and we'll see you on Summoner's Rift.